My fiancé's RCH family mocked my late mom's Christmas gifts, so I ended our engagement on spot in front of everyone.
Hey Reddit, before we start I just want to say that this is our new channel and we're working really hard to bring you the best stories.
So make sure to subscribe and support us. Let's start the story.
My fiancé, James, and I had been together for 3 years. We met in college, fell in love, and eventually got engaged. He came from a wealthy family, old money, private schools, country clubs, the whole package.
Me?
I was raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs just to make ends meet. She was my entire world, but she passed away 3 years ago, just before I met James. Losing her was the hardest thing I had ever gone through, but I kept her memory alive in everything I did. James always said he didn't care about my background, that he loved me for who I was, and for a long time, I believed him. But his family was a different story. From the moment I met them, I could tell they thought I wasn't good enough. His mother, Evelyn, was the worst. She had this way of smiling at me like I was a stray dog James had brought home. His father was polite but distant, and his sister, Olivia, acted like I didn't exist most of the time.
Still, I tried.
I attended their fancy dinners, learned which fork to use, and endured their snide comments about my humble upbringing.
James always told me to ignore them, that they'd come around.
I wanted to believe him, so I kept quiet, thinking that one day they'd accept me.
This past Christmas, James convinced me to spend the holidays with his family at their massive estate. It was intimidating, but he assured me it would be fine.
"They're just set in their ways," he said.
"They'll love you once they get to know you."
I wasn't so sure, but I agreed. Christmas had always been special to me because of my mom. She didn't have much money, but she always made the holiday magical. She'd bake cookies, make handmade ornaments, and wrap gifts with so much care, adding little notes to make them extra special. It was never about the price tag, it was about love. When I arrived at James' family home, it felt like I had stepped into a palace. Huge chandeliers, a tree that was probably worth more than my old apartment, and a dining room set for a 5-course meal. It was beautiful, but it didn't feel warm. It felt cold, like something out of a magazine rather than a home filled with love. I had brought gifts for everyone, small, thoughtful things my mom would have given, a hand-knitted scarf for Evelyn, a vintage book for his father, a handmade bracelet for Olivia, and a scrapbook filled with memories of James and me.
Things that mattered, things with meaning.
When the time came to exchange presents, I watched as they opened mine.
The room was silent, too silent. Evelyn held up the scarf like it was a dirty rag. Olivia actually laughed at the bracelet, and James' father raised an eyebrow at the book. James opened the scrapbook and just stared at it. Then Evelyn broke the silence. "Oh. How
quaint," she said, her voice dripping with condescension.
"Did you make these yourself?" I nodded, my heart sinking. "Yes.
My mom always believed that gifts should come from the heart."
Olivia scoffed. "Well, that explains it." I frowned. "Explains what?" She smirked.
"Why they look like something a child made in art class."
I felt my stomach drop. "Excuse me?" James' father chuckled under his breath.
"No offense, dear, but in this family, we give proper gifts." He gestured toward the mountain of designer bags, expensive jewelry, and high-end tech they had given each other.
"Not crafts." Evelyn nodded. "It's sweet, really. Very sentimental.
But you must understand, in our circles, we have a certain standard."
Olivia giggled.
"Imagine if we showed up at a charity gala with these."
She held up the bracelet like it was a joke. "People would think we lost our minds."
I felt tears sting my eyes.
But I refused to let them fall. These weren't just gifts. They were pieces of my mother. Pieces of me. And they were mocking them. Mocking her.
I turned to James, hoping, praying, he would defend me. But he just sat there, silent, avoiding my gaze.
That was the moment I knew. The moment everything became crystal clear.
I had spent years trying to fit into a world that would never accept me. Years hoping they would see my worth when they never would. And James, he wasn't on my side.
He never had been. I took a deep breath and stood up. You know what? You're right. We come from different worlds. I looked at Evelyn.
In my world, gifts are about love, not price tags.
I turned to Olivia.
In my world, we appreciate people for who they are, not what they can buy.
And finally, I faced James.
And in my world, when someone you love is being disrespected, you stand up for them.
He finally looked at me. Babe, don't do this. I shook my head. No. You don't get to call me that. Not anymore.
I reached down, slipped the engagement ring off my finger, and placed it on the table.
I'm done.
The room fell silent. I grabbed my coat and walked out, my heart pounding.
James ran after me, but I didn't stop. For the first time in years, I felt free.
I had spent so much time trying to be accepted by people who didn't deserve me.
And now, I was finally choosing myself. But little did I know, this was just the beginning.
Because the moment I walked away, I had no idea the storm that was about to follow.
As I drove away from James' family estate that night, my hands were shaking.
Not from sadness, but from anger.
From disappointment.
From the realization that I had wasted 3 years of my life on someone who never truly valued me. The weight of everything crashed down on me, but at the same time, I felt a strange sense of relief.
I was free.
Free from their judgment, their snide remarks, their condescending smiles.
Free from pretending to be someone I wasn't. I spent the night at a hotel. Not wanting to go back to the apartment James and I had shared. I needed space. Clarity. The next morning, my phone was flooded with messages from James. Some were apologetic, some were defensive.
He kept saying I was overreacting, that his family was just joking, and that I shouldn't have taken it so seriously. But the one message that truly sealed my decision was this.
You embarrassed me in front of my family. How could you just walk out like that? That was it. No acknowledgement of how his family had hurt me. No recognition of how I felt.
Just concern about how he looked. It was all the proof I needed that I had made the right decision.
I texted back, short and simple. We're done. Don't contact me again. Then I blocked him. But, of course, it wasn't that easy. Because James wasn't ready to let go.
Over the next few days, he showed up at my workplace, waited outside my building, and even called my friends to try and get them to convince me to take him back.
He was desperate.
Not because he loved me, but because he hated losing. His pride was wounded.
One day, he cornered me outside my office. Can we just talk? He pleaded. There's nothing to talk about.
James, I said, keeping my voice firm. You're really throwing everything away because of one bad night.
He ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. Come on, babe. My family can be difficult, but they didn't mean any harm. I crossed my arms.
They mocked my mother's memory, James.
And you just sat there. He sighed. I didn't want to start drama. I shook my head. No, you didn't want to stand up for me. And that's all I need to know. His jaw tightened. You're being ridiculous. You're overreacting. I let out a bitter laugh. No, James. I'm just finally seeing things clearly. And with that, I walked away. After that, I focused on rebuilding.
I moved out of our apartment, got my own place, and started surrounding myself with people who actually appreciated me. The first Christmas after the breakup, I spent it with close friends, people who valued the kind of gifts my mother used to give, people who cherished love over luxury. Months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that James' mother was already setting him up with a new girl.
Someone more suitable. Someone who fit into their world. And you know what? I was happy for them. Because I no longer wanted any part of that world. Looking back, Breaking off that engagement was the best decision I ever made. It hurt at the time, but in the end, I gained something far more valuable than a wedding ring. I gained myself.